Ahead of a public forum by the Electoral Commission on the Voters Register, a pro-NDC group, the Coalition for Defense of Equal Citizenship (CODEC), is drumming home its demand that there is no need for the existing register to be replaced.
We do believe that we do not need a new voters register, as consensus reached by the forum held at the College of Physicians and Surgeons on 26th of August. We invited representatives of all the political parties. Of course, MPP, for some good reasons, they were not able to show up.
This demand is contrary to that of the pro-MPP group Let My Vote Count Alliance. Now, though the MPP earlier questioned the neutrality of 3 of the panel members, it does appear the party is willing to cooperate and still present its case at the forum. How are things likely to play out for both the NDC and the MPP in this matter? New register or not? This is today's big story with me, Stephen Enti. Welcome to today's big story. Now, the push and shove, the for and against debates will all converge at tomorrow's public forum called by the Electoral Commission to engage various stakeholders on Ghana's voters register. The Let My Vote Count Alliance has made the loudest noise with its calls on the Electoral Commission to compile a new voters register. Now, today, a pro-NDC group calling itself the Coalition for the Defense of Equal Citizenship (CODEC) also went on a demonstration to push for the existing register to be maintained. Ali Dawood is Director of Operations of the group, and he has been speaking to us.
We do believe that we do not need a new voters register, as consensus reached by the forum held at the College of Physicians and Surgeons on 26th of August. We invited representatives of all the political parties. Of course, MPP, for some good reasons, they were not able to show up. By the end of that forum, the consensus was very clear that Ghana does not need a new voters register. What Ghana needs is to maintain the credibility of the existing biometric voters register, and that is why it has become necessary for CODEC to organize a peaceful march to bring the information to the doorstep of the ordinary Ghanaian and let them know the discussions as pertains to the call for a new voter register.
You would agree with me that quite a number of people are saying that the voters register is flawed, and therefore there is a need for us to, even if not have a new one, be audited.
But CODEC says that if you have a problem with the voters register, as has been the case every 4 years when we change our voters register, there are methodologies that we employ to make sure it is clean, or as you said, audited. But the call for a new voter register only taking us a century back. We are now going to collate new names and then come and detect who have registered twice and then clean them. Now we can save ourselves some time, resources and energy by just going there and audit. Indeed, if you do find those people who have registered in multiple ways or multiple times. So the argument that because there are some problems with it, of course there will be problems. It's something managed by a human institution. There could always be problematic. But the idea that you need therefore to call for a new voter register is clearly tangential and untenable.
Now, the CODEC protest appears to have been timed to coincide with, to make the biggest impact 24 hours before a crucial public forum on the matter. Mr. Dawood is joining me on the telephone, and we'll also be joined on the other telephone line by Ibrahim Ajay, who is a spokesperson for the Let My Vote Count Alliance, and we will later on also be joined by political analyst Joe Jackson to discuss the matters related to the public forum tomorrow. Let's hear Mr. Ali Dawood now. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time on today's big story. Right, I'm told that we're not getting them on the line readily, but let's speak to political analyst Joe Jackson, who is on the telephone lines now. Good evening, sir, and thanks for your time.
Good evening, and hello to all your viewers and your listeners.
I know that ahead of tomorrow's public forum called by the Electoral Commission, there are the for and against positions making the loudest noise. I mean, today, this afternoon, a group calling itself CODEC, which is the Coalition on the Defense of Citizenship Defense, CODEC, went on a protest to actually push that the existing register be maintained against the Let My Vote Counts Alliance previous position. Now, do you see this as surprising, especially 24 hours before a crucial public forum to determine these issues?
Now, okay, thank you very much. What is happening is that all the various factions with agenda are trying to pressurize the committee into taking into the positions that they would prefer. Nothing much has changed. The EC, I believe, did the right thing in setting up this committee of experts. The only challenge I have is with one or two, actually with one particular expert who seems to have been tainted. But apart from that, I think that it is.
Is this your personal view, or you are saying that that's the view of the MPP?
No. This has nothing to do with the MPP.
Okay, so
view. I think MPP saying that 3 experts, they complain about 3 experts. I think it's ridiculous. If anything at all, the integrity of VCRAC club is not in dispute. Neither is the integrity of Reverend Asante. I don't think any of that is in dispute. I do admit, though, that in times past we have had cause to believe that there was some amount of affiliation between Dr. Nina and the
NDC.
Yes, but on the other hand, there are very few people in this country who can claim to have knowledge, experience, and worldwide recognition of the IT sector that Nina could bring. And it's as simple as that.
So, I mean, his expertise actually overrides any political experience or affiliation he has had in the past?
Well, I won't say even in the past, as it's ongoing. But his expertise is so overwhelming that it would be difficult to say that he should not be on that committee.
Right, Mr. Jackson, we'll keep you holding briefly, but I have on the other telephone line Martin A.J. Kosa, who is Director of Elections for the MPP. Mr. Kosa, tomorrow is the day. I mean, earlier there were indications from the MPP that you may boycott tomorrow's forum. I must admit that this came from individual members of your party and not exactly the party itself as a whole. What I see as a U-turn, is this good news for you, the MPP?
Good news in the sense of we're going for the program, you mean?
Yes, please.
Well, we have never indicated at any point that we're not going to go. There has been some confusion in the minds of people about individual positions and that of the party. The party has raised concern about the composition of the panel. The party followed up with an official protest to the Electoral Commission. And we still hope that we'll get there tomorrow and some changes may have been effected.
Right. Mr. Kosa, we'll continue our conversation a little longer, but let me quickly go back to Joe Jackson. Mr. Jackson, I know that tomorrow you've said already that the positions will not change. So, for example, I'm hearing Mr. Kosa saying that they're hoping that they will make a strong case tomorrow. The NDC is going to say the same thing. Now, I want to find out from you what your predictions will be tomorrow and Friday. Various stakeholder groups, it doesn't only involve the political parties, but anybody who has a keen interest in the voters register can present a position or a paper tomorrow. What do you anticipate to be happening after tomorrow's hearing, and subsequently what is likely to be the blueprint coming out from such a forum?
Well, first of all the political parties are going to state a rehash of their position. I actually don't think that the most critical issues lie with this committee, in the sense that it is my personal belief that there are enough challenges with the register to merit the register being done again. But that is easier said than done. There are 2 challenges we face. Number one, do we have enough time before the election? Number two, do we have the money to fund it?
These are critical questions we must be answering.
Exactly. The presentations before this a group of experts is going to be exactly the same.
Right.
MPP is going to bring back the same arguments that they presented to us already with respect to the duplications, etc., that they found between us and the Togolese register, etc., etc. The NDC is going to claim that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
The other CBOs will claim whatever position that their affiliations require them to. But bottom line, we need to look at our register.
We need to. Right. Mr. Jackson, yeah, sorry. Right. Joe Jackson, if we lost you there, but can you speak again so we can hear you?
Okay. I said bottom line, my belief is that the register should be looked at again.
Should be looked at again.
Now, that is one side of the equation. We must have the means and the time to do it effectively before the next election. Now, those are the million-dollar questions.
Right. Mr. Jackson, we're grateful for your time. Later on, to the end of the show, I will bring you back in to wrap up when we have spoken to all the others in the debate today. Thanks very much. Mr. Martin Akosa is still on the line. So, Mr. Akosa, there are those who have said that the MPP's insistence on a new voters register, it's a bit of an entrenched position. We've gone over this over and over and over. Do you not perhaps anticipate that there could be a point in time during the progress of all of this public fora that you will change your mind, that you will relax your position a bit and actually agree to an audit rather than a new voters register?
You see, I just want us to get this debate somewhere. And nobody seems to be situating it within the right context. If anybody were to ask, how is the audit going to be done? Have you gotten any answers to it? There's been a talk of audit, and people do not even tend to understand what it all means. You don't do an audit and end it there. To do an audit with a view to clean. To want to conduct an audit into this register, you may as well finish in about 2, 3, 4 years. There are two types of audits that I can understand any time happening. The technological one, which we have done, to say they are Togolese on the register, they are minors, any such process is the technical one. Then the next stage of it would be the manual or the practical one where I say you talking to me are not a Ghanaian. I say so on the basis that I know the house you say you are coming from, and then I'm going there to inquire and then challenge or object. The registers that we have, never ever in the history of this country has it ever been exhibited with even addresses. Addresses or locations of voters. Never ever. If you have that situation, that is where it becomes feasible for you to even say, I'm now embarking nationwide. Open the thing, let people do audit. After the audit, let's bring the results and now proceed to go and claim.
I see.
You may as well finish this after the election. People are not looking at the practicality of it. Is that the word of audit, and that is it? In any case, let it not be said of the NPP taking an entrenched position. The NDC took that first position of it will never happen, nothing will happen. Let me tell you something. This whole debate started off on the 20th of May 2014. 3 political parties, NPP, PPP, and CPP, waged a crusade for an audit of the register. Then, the then chairman of the commission, Dr. Faridan, on the 5th of June, said that there was nothing wrong with the register. He did not understand what we meant by audits. And if anybody had anything, let them bring it by way of evidence. That is what led the NPP to start bringing the evidence. Subsequently, we realized that the kind of flaws that we have found with this register, it goes beyond merely trying to claim it. Completely. Whatever we presented to the commission, I'm sure tomorrow, Daniels will have the benefit of having extra damaging evidence against this register. Since then, we could have embarked on this audit. carry any audit and finish within a year. Let anybody doubt me. Let any election administrator dare me to any debate. It can never happen. We will not be finished the audit. Let them go and do the cleaning. But we have never addressed our minds. And it's been audit. Then the EC quickly said there was nothing wrong when we called for the audit. The EC said there was nothing wrong. Subsequently, now we have rolled to the point where those who said we didn't have a case and that there was nothing wrong have shifted to say there is something wrong. So as we speak now, the bone of contention is, yes, across the board, all stakeholders, including parties who even doubted later, say there is something wrong. The question is, how do we deal with what is wrong? That is what has brought us to this debate of new register or an audit.
Right.
But the audit is not practically possible.
Yeah, right.
It's not.
Ms. Akosa, we're grateful for your time on today's big story. I know that this debate will go on and on and on. Thanks very much for joining us. Let's move the discussions forward. The Deputy Communications Director of the NDC is also joining us on the other telephone line. Mr. David Agbenyo, good evening, and thanks for your time on today's big story.
Thank you. My name is Fred.
Fred, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. David is the representative of the Ghana Journalists Association. I beg your pardon. It's a slip. Now, I need to quote from the CDD's Democracy Watch. It says that with less than 14 months to the 2016 general elections, the integrity of the voters' register is once again being questioned. The Democracy Watch believes that this undoubtedly presents an early warning signal and a significant challenge to the successful conduct of the upcoming elections. This is from CDD. Do you share this view that the credibility of the voters register being questioned exactly 14 months to the elections actually is a warning signal?
Well, to the extent that some people have presented petitions against the register that we have today, an attempt by anybody to conclude that the integrity of the register is being challenged cannot be denied or cannot be said not to be true. Because some people think that there's a problem with the register. But the truth of the issue remains that there is no register anywhere in the world where we can say that that register is 100% correct. Every register that is compiled everywhere in the world, there will be one flaw or the other. To the extent that by the time you finish compiling a register, it is possible somebody who first wrote his name might have passed on.
But Fred, are these sufficient reasons for us to make do with a register whose credibility is in question?
I think that is where the crux of the argument is. That are we saying that because there's some problem with the register, so the entire register is flawed to the extent that we cannot use it for the pending election? That is the question. And our position has always remained that yes, there may be some difficulties with the register, just as they are challenges with all registers across the world. But compiling a new register is not a panacea to solving those problems, because we have conducted or we have compiled a new register almost every 4 years. And yes, so these problems that we are talking about today, I am sure nobody wants to go back in history and check. In 1992, we spoke about this problem. In 1996, we spoke about this problem. In 2000, we spoke about this problem. 2004, we did same. 2008, 2012. So compiling a new register is not antidote to the problem. The fundamental issue that we need to tackle is for her to have a national database that becomes the reference point to subsequent or future register that we compare. As we speak now, we don't have any other document we can compare.
But Fred, is this not also the same reason for which the MPP is calling for a new voters register? We do not have verifiable addresses of the people on the voters register. We do not have a reliable national database we can fall back on. Is this actually not the antidote to solving all this and laying the matters to rest by getting an entirely new register we can trust?
It cannot be, because if you say, for instance, that there are minors on the register, if you go and compile a new register tomorrow, minors will still be on the register. If you say there are foreigners on the register, if you go and compile a new register tomorrow, those foreigners will still be on the register. If you say the register is over-bloated, if you compile a new register tomorrow, the register will still be over-bloated. So compiling a new register is not the solution to whatever perception or whatever calendar we have.
But Fred, that's a very simplistic viewpoint. I mean, the fact that there are minors on the register now doesn't mean that if the processes are put in place to ensure credible compilation, there will still be minors.
Well, I am not too sure when it is simplistic. It is not simply because that my decision or my argument is informed by a trend analysis I've done over the period. That in 1992, we said there were minors on the register. So we put necessary mechanism in place to check that. We did in 1996, and yes, minors were on the register. So in 2000, we raised the argument again. We put all the mechanisms in place. By the time we were through, there were minors on the register.
Right.
In 2004, the same arguments were raised. So the point I'm making is not simplistic as you are suggesting, but the reality on the ground. So I am saying that the register that we have today, the 2012 register that we compiled, it is the best register that we have ever had in our entire history. To the extent that we have a biometric component to the register, which we have never had before. At least it debarred people from registering twice. You see, the difficulty that we have and why we are where we are now is because the laziness of some political parties in this country. As you speak now, are you aware the Electoral Commission is doing vote transfer? Ask yourself if the various political parties are monitoring the process.
Is your party monitoring?
As I speak to you now, I am in the Brana-Hafo region. I am in Gosu right now. I left Kitampo this morning, went to Kechima, came to Sudan. I am in Gosu. Our colleagues are in Accra and Kumasi screaming and shouting on television.
Right, Mr. Agbenyo, we'll have to pause here and we'll continue the discussion. I'm afraid we're running out of time and we need to shift gears now. Mr. Ibrahim Ajay is a spokesperson for the Let My Vote Count Alliance. He's also joining us on the other telephone line. Ibrahim Ajay, good evening, sir.
Good evening to you, and a very good evening to your viewers and listeners.
Thanks for joining us. Now, today, the group called Codec, which we're reliably informed is a pro-NDC group, it went on a protest to demand that the current register be maintained. I mean, this is actually contrary to the position you have been pushing. Your quick comment on their protest and whether you have anything about their call.
Yes, I mean, I think myself, Let My Vote Count Alliance, and many Ghanaians, including, I'm sure, the NDC, are amazed that Codec can come out with such an infantile suggestion, especially in this critical time of our democracy.
But Mr. Ibrahim Ajay, I beg your pardon. I mean, you can't say it's infantile when yourself also went on a demonstration to ask that the voters register be changed. They have a right as a group to also say that we should maintain the register.
Yeah, well, the reason why I say that it's infantile is because every other political organization says that the register is not credible, including the NDC. And they're saying that the register is credible and should be maintained. And look at the arguments that they propose, that there's no guarantee that if you do a new register, minors will not be on the register, that foreigners will not be on the register. I mean, are we coming or going? Cote d'Ivoire just had elections with a new register. They managed to eradicate malpractices, and Alassane Ouattara had his mandate renewed. This very year, you had Nigeria going in with a new electoral register, and they removed millions of names from the register. What is it that Nigeria can do, like Cote d'Ivoire can do, that we cannot do here in Ghana? That's why I say it's infantile. Infantile in the sense that it's not mature. No, once we have a new register, we can put mechanisms, as you were rightly saying, to prevent it. Now, what are these mechanisms? There is a constitutional provision, the CI 75, that says 3 months before an election, that the Electoral Commission has to provide details of all the people registered so that all stakeholders, including Ghanaians, can interrogate the register and have names deleted that should not be there. So clearly there are checks and balances that will help us make sure that a new register is secure and not only secure but credible, having the right names there. That's the reasons why I said infantile.
Right.
Ghanaians across board are calling for a new register.
So is this the position that your group, I'm not sure whether you are also going to make a presentation at tomorrow's public forum, but you're going to maintain this position?
That we need a new register? Absolutely. Of course, we are Let My Vote Count Alliance. I believe that all other political parties will be at the forum tomorrow and Friday to make the case for a new register known. those who are calling for a new register.
Right.
And I think we are all aware of the institutions. The NPP is calling for a new register.
Right.
The PPP, is calling for a new register. Nana Konadu-Agyemang Rawlings' party, the NDP, is calling for a new register. Right. You have Catholic bishops.
Right,
you have the chief imam. Yes, I mean, I think the list is there.
That's right. So we wish you the very best, and we do hope that your presentation brings out the outcomes that you expect. Let's quickly wrap up with Joe Jackson, who is back on the line again. So, Mr. Jackson, we've heard the views from the NDC and the MPP. I need to ask you, really, I mean, from the political standpoint, what will be the medium to long-term solution to this crisis? I call it crisis because if we are going into an election 14 or 16 months away and we're not sure of a credible register, then we don't know whether we're coming or going. Long-term, medium-term, what should be the solution?
Well, the long-term solution is obvious. Get a new register. Get a new register. Get a register that consolidates all the different identification systems that we have. The national ID, the national health, which has gone some way in terms of penetration, and our electoral ID. Put them all together, get a unique register that has other benefits, including identification for the financial sector, etc.
Yeah.
That will have the economic benefits of helping, of improving access to consumer finance in the economy,
right, and
etc.
And you feel that in the medium term, the approach by the Electoral Commission to engage the public and the various political stakeholders on the matter is also a good choice, yes or no?
You see, they don't really have a choice in the matter. Once the allegation was made, it has to be investigated,
right.
It has to be addressed, and they have to find the money and the time.
Right. Mr. Jackson, we're grateful for your time. Very, very grateful that you could join us again on today's Big Story. My name is Stephen Enti, and that's where we bring to a close the program. Please enjoy the rest of our programs.